Ladies and gentlemen, the Near Fall Network proudly brings to you the modern-day Micah Raja, the guru of grappling gab, the one, the only, Shooter!
Near Fall Nation, say hello to the bald guy, and welcome to another edition of Drive-By with Shooter. As always, thanks for stopping in and checking out what I do here at the Near Fall Network. It's been an enormous week in professional wrestling, starting pretty much last, I think, Sunday morning when something pretty huge dropped. And the bonus part of putting the show out later in the week is I get to let things develop before I give my opinion on them. And I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. There was no way I could do this show by myself this week. I know you guys love to hear my voice and my thoughts, but this is too big of a deal for me to tackle on my own. Not only that, I am up front with you guys. I know about New Japan. I see certain matches from New Japan, but I do not follow New Japan like I do WWE. However, here at the Near Fall Network, there's a certain individual that does, and I'll introduce him to you right now. None other than, let's see, the Near Fall narcissist himself, the sensual Swami of the squared circle, and I can't remember much more, but other than the king of nerds, what's up, Mike? Welcome to Drive-By.
Peasants. It's good to be here, man. Excited to talk about this huge development.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, I'm sure you guys figured out what the hell I'm talking about, and I could be wrong on the time. It was either Saturday or Sunday. I think it was early Sunday morning when I saw it.
It was Sunday when I saw it.
Okay, yeah, I think it was Sunday, so it probably happened Saturday night, and I'm not sure of the show. Maybe you can fill us in on that, Mike, but at one of New Japan's shows...
I'm so brain farting right now. I believe it was Road to Dominion. But that sounds like a TNA show to me.
Well, you know, that's a whole nother show, a whole nother podcast. And it would be short and crash and burn in a fire, so there's that. But anyway, one of New Japan's shows that they've had, Omega finish his match, basically saying how he's beat everybody. And the Tron comes on, and first thing I noticed was I heard the song Judas by Fozzy playing, and that was weird. And then I thought, well, there's no way. And then there's Jericho. So, my mind was literally blown. And of course, it's all kind of coming. Everything's a spoiler now. And as I said, I don't watch New Japan, so I'm seeing this through the feed. And I'm literally already know what's going to happen, but I'm thinking there's no way this is going to happen, if that makes any sense. And it happens. And I was just like, holy shit. 2017 in professional wrestling is the most insane year I can remember. What exactly were your initial thoughts when you saw the announcement that was all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over everywhere when it had to do with professional wrestling, that Jericho just challenged Kenny Omega?
It was such a weird day for me because I work weekend, nights. So I got home I would say about the time it happened, probably 4 or 5 in the morning. And I went to bed. And I woke up, and, we have an ongoing group chat, you and I, and the
right.
MFer. And I saw a post about it, you got to see my most recent post, and I was kind of groggy, and was like, what? So I went and looked, and I didn't really, read what it was said. It said, there was it obviously said in the post, Jericho responds, But I didn't really, I read it, but I didn't, pick it up. I was like, Jericho responds, what? So I'm watching the video, and when the countdown and Judas started, I was like, oh, okay, I know what this is. My wife was downstairs. I was upstairs in my bedroom. Thank God she was downstairs, because I had, a mini freak out. Like, I marked out. I don't know about you, but I marked clean out. This was insane to me. This is the biggest thing that's happened in wrestling since Scott Hall showed up on Nitro.
I'm so glad you just said that, because that was literally the thing I was thinking in my mind. Like, I can't remember like a time
Maybe
where something
Benoit
was so
Malenko.
surprising. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Like them sitting in the crowd, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like it was one of those things that was just done so well, which brings you to the fact that Chris Jericho is the master of surprise. Because I'll be honest with you, and I believe I even posted on the page, they were going through this whole Twitter battle, which I know you listen to my show. I said on my show, like, guys, they don't hate each other. This is a work. And, of course, my assumption was this is going to end up on the Cruise of Jericho. And I believe Jericho even said something to the fact of, well, I have somewhere we can settle this and put, a ship, emoticon or whatever, emoji, whatever you want to call it, and tweeted that to Omega, and I posted saying, well, there it is, guys. And then I even said, I think one of our MVPs, Mr. Vest, made a comment about how awesome that would be. And I said, yeah, but it would be really better to see this at a WrestleMania or a Wrestle Kingdom. And then the next freaking day, because I think that was Friday when he tweeted that, and I posted it Friday night maybe, or Saturday. And then the next day, like, it happens, and it's freaking Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I remember seeing your post and thinking, yeah, it'd be great if it happened at Mania or Kingdom, but it's never going to happen. And now it is.
Yeah. I even kind of popped watching the announcement when you heard, and I don't, like I said, I don't watch all the time or watch even as frequently as you do, so I'm not sure what announcer it was, but one of the American announcers said, can that even happen? And I kind of popped. I was like, that is awesome that they even are, like, they're still playing it. Like, one of the things I loved about the NWO was, and I feel like, and I'd have to go back, and since you do, and this is a cheap plug for your show here, Mike, you do the Monday Night Wars, Raw and Nitro, for our page, and you review that, starting with the Monday Night War. This might be a false memory in my head, but when Hall and Nash left, when Razor and Diesel left, I almost vaguely remember JR on commentary on Monday Night Raw making some vague, like, throwaway comment about two guys who might have had their last hurrah here, but then kind of framing it to where they're with the company, but they're not part of the company. And then they show up and do the whole beginning of the NWO angle, and I thought for the longest time this shit was really going down.
I'm not sure. I can't really remember if JR made a comment on that or not. We're not really there yet. We're about 6 months away still. Longer than that probably. I don't know, but I know it was definitely sold as they were two guys from another company for a while.
Well, but, yeah, they totally played it that way.
But this is
on WCW.
Yeah, and it seemed like they tried that a little bit. Can that even happen? Playing up like maybe is he still under contract? Which, like, you know what? It's there. Go for it.
Yeah, totally. And that actually brings me to the next part I want to talk to you about with this. There's a lot of speculation. And
hold on, real fast. Speaking to what we just spoke on, I almost feel like you don't need to play up on it. Because it's Chris Jericho and it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Like, it was a big deal in the Monday Night Wars. Those guys are coming from the other company. You don't really need that now. Now it's just, oh my gosh, Chris Jericho's here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think for New Japan, it's important for them to still kind of... You're totally right, because Chris Jericho is his own thing.
Yeah, he's his own thing, and even still, like, you don't need to say, oh, he's from the other place. You know Chris Jericho's from the other place.
Which they didn't quite say it, and they probably, I think they'll do low-key kind of just like the announcer saying, is that even possible? I don't think, I can't see, especially because they're trying to get into the American market, which all this brings me around to the next part of this. There's speculation all over, like, and we've had all week to listen to it, Did Jericho get the okay, the approval? I don't even think he needs it because as far as I know, his contract is expired. But as a professional courtesy, if you listen to Jericho on podcasts, he said numerous times that Vince is like a father figure to him. And, I've heard one report where someone said he didn't even ask Vince. Vince found out when everyone else found out. And then I hear another report where Omega actually said Jericho got approval, or not necessarily approval, but let Vince know. There's no part of my mind that lets me believe that Jericho, being as smart of a businessman as he is, would not at least give somebody a heads up.
Vince got a heads up. Like, right? We're not going to sit here and talk like Vince didn't get a heads up.
There's no way in hell that... granted, I've heard talk, and I'll shout them out all the time. New Age Insiders, you listen to them, I listen to them. They said, Jericho's to the point where he's a brand, and he could basically look at it as WWE needs him more than he needs them, and I totally agree with that. But that being said, Jericho is a very smart businessman, which he is proving day in and day out, and I also know that he likes money, so there's no way that he would intentionally burn a bridge, which I think that would do if he didn't clue anyone in and they just found out the same way we did. That would be way more of a thing to piss somebody off than to say, look, I'm going to do this. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. I hope you're not mad and we can work in the future.
I think that's totally what happened. He's not going to spit in their face. This has been a good place to him. He's been good for them. They've been good for him. It's been a beneficial relationship for both of them. He wants to go try something new. There's nothing more than just, like you said, a business decision. And from all accounts I've heard, he tried to get NXT on the cruise. They didn't want anything to do with putting NXT on the cruise, so he went and got Ring of Honor guys. So then naturally the talk started happening. Hey man, what did we do this? He's probably started talking about Omega with having the match on the cruise, honestly. And then Omega probably was like, man, I could talk and see if we can do Wrestle Kingdom. What's your contract situation look like? And he was like, I don't have a contract situation. I just pick up the phone and say, I'm ready to come back. Or they pick up the phone and say, Chris, we need you. We work out a deal there. And when it's done, it's done. If we would like to continue, cool. If not, I go on tour. So he's not under contract, and I feel that's probably what happened. They probably were talking about it, and Omega was like, dude, we could make this on Wrestle Kingdom if you don't have a contract. And Jericho, I bet he didn't even think about it. I bet he was like, okay, let's do it.
Well, and that actually brings a whole other thing, because if you've read anything about the whole TLC and Reigns and Bray going out, and Jericho was one of the ones they called. They called Jericho, and it was going to be, I think he was going to fill in for Bray, I believe. But he couldn't because of Fozzy, and that's why AJ got the nod. But that just shows you right there that he doesn't have to have a contract, and they can still call him and see what's up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, he's not under contract, because if he was, they would have said, well, we need you and you have to be here. And he's obviously not going to carry a contract with WWE while he's actively touring. I believe they're on a European tour with Fozzy. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I also don't see him burning that bridge. Now, you brought up the NXT thing, and I think that's another thing that, this is what cracks me up about people who do what we do, but do it to spin their stories the way they want to tell them. I heard the audio clip of the show they were talking about where he kind of relayed that, hey, I talked to NXT guy, or I talked about getting NXT guys on there. And the way that I interpret it, and maybe I'm completely wrong, like, everyone's talking like he's pissed that they wouldn't let him use NXT guys, and that is not at all the way that I understood it. Jericho has been talking about this cruise for almost 2 years. He got the idea from the Kiss cruise. He looked into, he financed, he knew this was all going to be on him. He wanted to get NXT guys on there, but he knew, because it's his thing and not their thing, that it probably wasn't going to happen. But the way that I took it was, he still wanted to try, so he did. he got the runaround, which irritated him more than the fact that they said no. He would have just rather them say no than give him a runaround on it. So everyone's kind of mucking it up like, oh, he's mad because they wouldn't do it. No, he didn't plan on them doing it. I think it was even a courtesy that he asked them, hey, I'm going to do this cruise. It's happening. Do you want to be a part of it? Not a, hey, I really need you guys, and I'm pissed that you let me down. Because he's Chris Jericho. So what's he do? He gets Ring of Honor in there. I kind of heard it almost as, I think he wanted NXT and Ring of Honor on there at the same time, or other people besides just NXT. And I could have misheard that. It could have come across, some things get muddled, but...
Oh, they certainly weren't going to go for that.
Well, no, and because he even said, they don't play well with others, and I took that to mean on multiple levels, meaning they're not financing the cruise, this is Jericho, not WWE, they're going to have to work within the guidelines of the cruise, and all of that crazy shit, and it just wasn't going to happen. And then if they would have tried to get independent guys and other things in there, they probably wouldn't like that either. And Jericho's doing this to build his brand and probably to help some other guys out because that's how Jericho is. So I think it really makes me just kind of come to the point of what does, in your opinion, what does this mean for Chris Jericho? What does this mean for Kenny Omega? Jericho's already a legend. I think this, if nothing else, just, I don't even, I guess it, emphasizes how much of a legend he is, or it makes it even more important to cement his place in wrestling history. But among that, what does it do for Omega, and where do we go from here?
This probably does way more for Chris Jericho than it does for Kenny Omega. Chris Jericho just pulled the power move of the century in wrestling. And not only just a power move, but a legacy move. This is a legacy move because at the end of the day, no disrespect to the G1 in America on Access TV that a third of the nation probably gets.
Right.
But Chris Jericho showing up in New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom is the first legit. This is the opening gunshot. This is Scott Hall showing up on Nitro. This is it. This is the opening shot. This is New Japan saying, hey, we're for real now. This isn't a joke. This is for real now. This is happening. We're making a move on your territory. Everything else has just been play. The Bullet Club showing up at Raw was just play. The G1 was just testing the waters. This is the first real shot they're taking at WWE in America and saying, we're coming for your fans. And a significant portion of your fans that are unhappy with you, and we know what we do will make them happy.
Well, here's where I'm going to counter you on that, though. But is this really... This feels to me... I totally get what you're saying, but this feels to me more this isn't a New Japan thing. This is they're going to benefit from it, but this is a Chris Jericho thing. This was not an ultimate New Japan plan to let's get Chris Jericho. This was Chris Jericho seizing the opportunity to help himself and help Kenny Omega, which in turn is going to greatly help, in my opinion, New Japan, especially with them trying to break into the American market. So I don't quite see it as a shot fired because that would have to put plans in New Japan's court. And I don't think that was. I think they fell into it.
I don't disagree that this was a Chris Jericho thing, but I think that this was a thing that fell into their lap.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Is that if they're smart, they will 100% capitalize on and make this the opening shot. This is it for real. Now you need to make New Japan World available on lots of different things and not just Roku and online. And make the movement. If Jericho's going to be at Wrestle Kingdom, push that shit. Make that shit easily accessible. And it's going to change things just okay, I know, we've already mentioned New Age Insiders. They made a point on their podcast where they said, this changes things because now you have to go find it. They've given you a match that you want to see. Everything they've done after this is after the fact, okay? An Okada-Omega match, that was after the fact. That wasn't, oh my god, I have to see this when it happens. That was afterwards. It was, holy shit, you have to watch this match that happened last night. Same with Okada Omega too. To most people, that wasn't, none of their whole trilogy was the day after. Oh my gosh, go back and watch this match. Now, Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, this is I have to watch it live. And people are going to seek out how to watch this match. And once you've found how to watch New Japan and you know and it's there, that's a pretty big deal because now you can come back to it easily.
And that puts pressure on them to, and anyone that watches New Japan, you will attest to this. I'm speaking from the people I talk to that are faithful to the product. It won't be hard for them to do this, but they have to put on the show of shows from top of the card to the bottom of the card to keep the momentum they build from the eyes they'll gain from this. And that's why I say I don't think, like, they fell into this, and this might be the best thing to happen to them ever, especially with a North American push that they're making. What, like, to me...
Mike, they don't have to put on the show of shows. They just have to put on the same show they put on every year.
But that's what I'm saying, like, they have to, it's, the pressure's there to perform. They do it all the time. It's not something that's a secret. If you're even in the fringe of the wrestling community, you hear how great the wrestling is in New Japan. And there are enough people irritated with the product in WWE that love Chris Jericho, or at least know of Chris Jericho, and would say, hey, you know what? I'm going to check this out, and maybe they stick with it. Now, do they stick with it and abandon WWE completely? I think that would be stupid, because wrestling's wrestling. Like, you should... I love wrestling. I watch as much wrestling as I can. It just happens that most of that is WWE because I don't have a lot of free time, if that makes sense. That being said, this, like, because I wanted to kind of get into how this changes the landscape of pro wrestling, and I think it does. This literally, while I'm not sitting here and saying this is a new Monday Night War, because it's not. They don't do a weekly show yet. They don't have direct head-to-head competition, I guess, is what I want to say. But this is still a shot, kind of like you said earlier. This is still, hey, we're using your guy, who is one of the most over guys in wrestling currently, with our guy, who is the other one who's probably one of the most over guys in wrestling currently, and we're putting him on our show, not yours. Like, that's huge, and I think this will open a lot of doors for other guys to try to do the same thing, and I think this might even open a door for WWE to take a shot at something this style, like, even to the point where, doesn't Omega's contract end in January? Isn't it over after Wrestle Kingdom for him? Didn't he sign a 1-year deal?
Yeah, but he ain't going anywhere.
I don't think so either, but even if it was for a one-shot, just like this is, could you imagine if we got this at Wrestle Kingdom and we got the rematch at WrestleMania? Could you imagine?
Oh,
I don't think it's going to happen, but could you imagine? Like, did I just blow your mind there, King?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I never even considered that.
Yeah, and I didn't, like, I literally read the report right before I made this phone call to do this podcast, and it's already being speculated that Jericho is going to be in the Royal Rumble. So, if that's already being speculated, obviously there's no bad blood, which I didn't think there would be. I mean, I'm sure they're not thrilled, but they're not going to miss out.
I kind of figured he'd be the second guy to do Wrestle Kingdom and WrestleMania in 1 year after AJ.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's right off the bat, it was basically worded as they'll bring Jericho in the Rumble to build on the momentum of his Wrestle Kingdom match, which right there says somebody's thinking and not being petty, which is WWE has been accused of recently.
There's no reason we can't all make money off this.
100%. And you know who probably loves money even more than Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega? Vince McMahon. And I think this is super exciting for us. Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to Alpha versus Omega other than, I'll tell you this, Mike, I can't watch it live because of work, but it will definitely be the first Wrestle Kingdom I check out, and I'm super excited for it right off the bat.
I will be doing live updates on
Yes.
the Near Fall Nation Facebook page as it airs. I am a live viewer of Wrestle Kingdom every year. I will be up at 2 a.m. with a pot of coffee, ready to go, watching it. So everybody tune in for that if you're looking for updates. No, you can't have my New Japan password. I guess my only other thing is just a little something that crossed my mind while I was, I got some free time at work to think, and I was thinking about this over the weekend. So, Daniel Bryanson, if you were looking to make a push into the American market,
huge,
and Daniel Bryan, as it's been well known, in about 8 months is going to be free to become Daniel Bryanson again, and has only talked about his desire to wrestle and how he's cleared basically everywhere except WWE. If you were wanting to make a push into the American market, that may be the guy that you would want to be the face of that, with Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes, possibly.
Yeah.
Just a thought there.
That's a good thought. Hey, I like that you brought that up because I know Drive-By's going a little long today, and we're going to wrap it up. But we're going to take a quick break. And something I read, again, just before I called you to do this, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the incident that happened with KO and Sami Zayn. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Near Fall Nation. We're going to wrap today's show up, and King of Nerds is still hanging out with me here. I read just before we started talking about Alpha vs. Omega, I got an alert on my phone. Now, I didn't actually get a chance to read the article, but it said Daniel Bryan is furthering his... I don't know, I'm going to screw up exactly what it said, but basically it was said he's continuing to try to get cleared to wrestle, which... As I said, I didn't read it. I didn't get a chance. But that makes me feel like he's trying to get cleared to wrestle for WWE because by all standards, it seems like he's clear to go anywhere else. And the blurb that I saw had a quote from him saying, all the testing is going very well. Which brings me to, and I touched a little bit on it last week in my rapid fire segment, Kane chokeslamming Daniel Bryan. Now, we did not see the bump because the bump didn't happen. Let's be real here, guys. That's why the lights were off. However, seeing that and then seeing this, I even speculated there's 0 point. Like, we had The Miz and we had Daniel Bryan doing this awesome back and forth on Talking Smack, right? That could lead nowhere because you can't touch Daniel Bryan. He's not active. He's not cleared to wrestle, blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of got the build for the match you never knew you wanted, and we can't get it. So then you get Angle returning with TLC, and everyone said he was never going to get cleared, but everyone knew he was going to get cleared, if that makes any sense. He wrestles. He does decent. He scared the shit out of me quite a few times, I'm going to be honest. He doesn't move like the old Kurt Angle. He can't because his neck is... been broken, I think, what's the count, 114 times?
I think we're at 114 right now, yeah.
Okay, yes, 114 neck breaks for Kurt Angle. Now, this whole, and I could just be fantasy booking my ass off, but I'm sitting here thinking, they chokeslammed Daniel Bryan. There's no reason to do that unless he's going to get some kind of retribution either against Raw or SmackDown or Shane for causing this or Angle for letting it happen or this, that, and the other. But is WWE going to let him wrestle to keep him from wrestling somewhere else?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because
I think the choke slam was all he was doing was playing damsel in distress. There was no.
I agree with that. But
real...
how? Here's the thing, dude. As pissed off as people are, Why dangle that carrot? You know people already want Bryan back in the ring.
I don't think they dangled a carrot. The man took an imaginary bump in the dark. They weren't thinking of it like that. See, they don't think like we think. That's where fans are going wrong on this. They were telling a story. And the best thing that happened for their story was for this man who can't get hurt because he's like, if he gets hurt again, he might die, was for him to get hurt. So we shut the lights off and we hurt him. And we're telling a story. They didn't think that like everybody and their brother was going to be like, oh, he took a bump. Oh, man, it's the yes chant coming back. No,
so
it's
you're
not,
saying
man.
I'm giving them too much credit.
You're giving them too much credit, dude. This was a story. They were telling a story, and the best thing for the story was the man that can't take a bump to take a bump, and that's why we did it in the dark.
So let me spin it this way. All that being said, maybe they worked themselves into a shoot, and by that, what I mean is, Jericho just challenged Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom, and now you have a guy who's got 6 to 9 months left on his contract who said, I'm going to wrestle again, I just don't know where. And let me remind you once more time, Chris Jericho just challenged Kenny Omega to a match at Wrestle Kingdom. So, depending on how this goes for the WWE, I'll ask you again, do they sign Daniel Bryan and let him wrestle to keep him wrestling somewhere else?
Well, look, I think Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle in WWE. First of all, he doesn't want to go somewhere else, man. It's where his wife's there. They got divas going. They got a good thing going, man. If he can wrestle there, like, go on. Being like a part-time, I guess, special event guy? Like, he's not going to wrestle full-time, is he? Are they going to let him wrestle full-time?
Well, he's basically said that even if he doesn't wrestle there, from everything that's kind of... I don't think he
wants to go back to full-time. He can't wrestle full-time?
Right.
Okay, so he just wants a match every now and again. So, yeah, he'd be perfectly happy, I think, wrestling the big shows at WWE for the rest of his life. And instead of going to Ring of Honor and being the champion there.
I agree.
Because he doesn't give a shit about the title. He wants to wrestle. He just wants to be in a ring with someone.
Absolutely.
So, would he much rather just wrestle at Mania, Rumble, and SummerSlam than go work New Japan against Tanahashi for the Intercontinental title? Yeah, probably. Probably. Will that happen? I don't know, man. I guess we'll see what Vince says. Do I think that Vince would, sign him? Yeah, I think he would because, man, he's going to go make some money somewhere.
And he's going to make somebody else money, and Vince doesn't like that.
Yeah, he doesn't like when his toys go somewhere else and someone else plays with them.
Well,
he does not like that.
Yeah, 100%. Let's wrap this up. It's been an awesome wrestling talk. I just want to touch real quick before we go. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were sent home from the UK tour. The dirt sheets initially reported it was because they were supposed to feed the New Day in the segment on SmackDown. And I've heard people say, it totally looked off. I literally just watched SmackDown last night, and it didn't look off to me at all, even knowing, that they said they didn't do something right. And it didn't look off to me. WWE is apparently behind the scenes telling people they were sent home for goofing off, which doesn't make any sense at all. That pulls me into there's something more to this, like WWE's feeding stories to the dirt sheets to feed something that's a work. And maybe that's just my heart of heart. I want to believe that because, again, I'm giving them a lot of credit in that. Then, of course, that story was Meltzer completely shut that story down. No, they didn't. It wasn't that they were in trouble for feeding or not feeding New Day. That was actually miscommunication and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. It must have been something else, but we'll see how mad Vince is about it, whether they are suspended or they're back or this, that, and the other. I'm so confused on this situation. I know you're up to date on it a little bit. What is your take on the KO, Sami Zayn? To me, I almost feel like the timing of all this is way too weird for it not to be used, even if it was a legit thing, to be used to the advantage of this whole SmackDown vs. Raw Survivor Series. They're anti-Shane. Shane's going against Raw. It's just weird.
Man, Uncle Dave will tell you the same story 12 different times till he gets it right, huh?
We know a guy like that, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. We used to. But that's Uncle Dave in a nutshell right there. He'll tell you the same story 12 times till he gets it right. As many times as it takes to get to the bottom of it. So this is like what? This is one of two things. That they really piss someone off, or it's all a work. It's all work.
It's all work.
It's all work. Do I think that they really pissed somebody off by not feeding the New Day? Not really. Do I think it could have happened? Sure. Do I think that these two guys could have been like, you know what, man? Like, I'm tired of this. We know what's best for our character. We're gonna do this. Would I put it past them? No. But do I think that they would do that? No. They've been very successful.
Right.
They've been very successful where they're at. Sami Zayn, we can say whatever, but Sami Zayn's probably doing about as good as he could ever hope to do. Honestly. Upper mid-carder, like, he's probably going to get a title run eventually, but, like, he's not the end-all be-all like people make him out to be. I'm sorry. I'm a fan of the guy, but he's got upper mid-carder right all over him.
I agree.
Kevin Owens. Yeah, okay, the guy's had a title for what, like something like 65% of his career in WWE. He's doing all right.
He's booked horribly.
He's doing all right.
You know? He's
yeah,
buried.
Man.
Get those
definitely
golden shovels
buried.
out.
Definitely get that shovel out for him. So I don't think that's possible. I think even Sami Zayn knows he's probably in a good spot. I think he probably believes he's title material, but he probably also knows, like, man, in this company that's pretty top heavy right now,
right.
I'm probably doing about as good as I could hope to do.
Well, and I kind of look at it like this from, I think, another report, and I don't know where I read it because I've read so much, but it was stated that Kevin Owens was very upset that he was being reprimanded and being sent home and off the tour. I think that was just to say, like, hey, look, these guys want to be here. And they do. Like, it was also been discredited that the whole, like, this was because of Jimmy Jacobs getting fired and Neville walking out and they're friends with them, so now they want to leave. And that's been kind of tossed out the window, too, which I don't see. Like, if you listen to KO, I don't know so much about Sami Zayn, but if you listen to KO, he always wanted to be a WWE superstar and a WWE champion. So I don't feel like that, excuse me, maybe if there was an issue, they tried to make their statement and they made it the wrong way.
I could see that happened. I don't think that they even were trying to make a statement, though.
Right.
I mean, okay. Again, Neville is a phenomenal wrestler, but was he beating Brock Lesnar for the Universal Strap? No.
No, because nobody is except Roman Reigns. Come on.
Right. And the only person that's beating Roman Reigns for it's probably going to be Braun Strowman.
Right.
Okay? And was Neville going to beat AJ Styles for the title? No, he wasn't. Okay? So Neville, okay, yeah, I'm sure that they were really upset that their buddy was the most dominant, well-booked champion in the whole damn company for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure that really bothered them.
Here, go ahead.
And as far as, so, like, what kind of statement? Maybe you were making a statement about Jimmy Jacobs, but I feel like if you're wrestlers and you know the business like these guys claim to do, like, there's a difference between, like, guys that are wrestlers and guys that claim to be these fucking purists, like these guys do, you know? They're like these purists. We're wrestlers. We're not sports entertainers. So if you're a wrestler, you know that what Jimmy Jacobs did was just dumb. Dumb as hell. And he probably did it on purpose. And so if you're friends with him, then you know he did it on purpose.
And let me
so I think
this out, too.
Whole,
It wasn't the fact that he just took the picture. He took the picture while they were doing the quote-unquote Raw Invasion and hashtagged it Raw and Bullet Club. Come on, and WWE.
Yeah, like, he's the one that posted the picture.
Right.
It's one thing to be in the picture and have, like, you know, like, the Young Bucks posted or something.
Right.
It's a whole other thing to be the dude holding the phone, taking the picture.
And then posting it and being hey, all my bosses, look who I'm hanging out with.
Yeah, by the way, let's talk about his facial expression in that picture, because no one seems to talk about it. How fucking smug does he look in that picture?
Oh,
he looks so smug, like ultra cool, wearing his eyeliner and way too tan. Just trying way too... He looks like a fucking, like, magician out there. Like like a what's
like
Chris Angel?
Low
He looks
rent
like
Chris Angel.
Looks like a low rent Chris Angel out there with his like fake tan and his eyeliner and his super uber serious. Meanwhile, everyone else in the picture having a great time. So go on with yourself. He knew what was coming. This has nothing to do with it. I feel like this is just some like. It's a work. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think it's a work.
That's what I was going to wrap it up. Work or shoot. This is what I'm going to say. You say work. I say a shoot into a work. Maybe someone was irritated. Maybe something went wrong. And maybe someone said, you know what, we'll just go home. And they said, you know what, go ahead. And we'll get back to you on Tuesday and we'll make this work for us. I'm probably giving them too much credit going that route, and maybe you are too, but hey, who the hell knows?
This could have been as simple as like they were pulling a rib on someone and it pissed the wrong person off, and they were like, you know what, just get out of my face for the week.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong possibility, and I mean, especially with the whole report, well, they were sent home for fooling around. I don't know. I know some people have been known to shitting other dudes or females' gym bags, so who the hell knows?
Yeah. So, it could have been anything
Was
like
Mark
that.
Henry around?
I don't know. We're going to have to check the reports.
Yeah, we'll have to read and get an update on that. Awesome. Well, hey, let me tell you something. Thanks for taking the time to be on the show. It was awesome talking to you. A little bit of wrestling. We don't do it quite nearly enough over the phone as we should.
No.
But, I mean, hey, I think we're in for an awesome Survivor Series. We're definitely in for an awesome Wrestle Kingdom. And, I mean, they made changes to make Survivor Series badass, in my opinion. And I think that maybe that leaves some hope for WrestleMania. Who knows? I think it could be a really good card, especially now that AJ's champ. And that's a whole other thing I don't want to get into. But congratulations, AJ, two-time WWE champion.
Jinder gets it back before
Oh, no. I hope not, but you're probably right. If he does, I want him to win it in India because that.
Honestly,
really
I think the
sense.
Jericho thing really. I think the Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom thing probably changed that plan.
It may.
I think
well
the only thing that they can really do to keep like internet wrestling fans happy at this point is AJ versus Shinsuke.
Yep, 100%. Well, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget everything King of Nerds does for us on the Facebook page. Wednesday with the SmackDown recap, and Thursday and Friday, I'm assuming you'll get back to it next week with the Monday Night Wars,
yes.
Raw, and Nitro, and of course the High Fiver on Monday for the High Fiving Party, and then YouTube, soon to hopefully be iTunes as well. Drive By with Shooter on Saturday. Anything else you want to say?
No, thank you guys so much for always stopping in and watching my stuff. It's nice to talk to you out of character and give you my thanks. Also, I do apologize this week for shows not being on. I had some home remodeling I was taking care of, and as we've always said here, house and family come first.
Has to.
Has to. So we'll be back next week. I'm sorry, guys. I know you guys, all 7 of you, really look forward to it, but it will be back next week.
If 2 people listen to my show and they get enjoyment out of it, that's all that matters to me. And we're going to get there because we're going to keep plugging away. As I say every week, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. We'll catch you next time.